after Violet? Who kidnapped Lena and Henry? Where did this curse even come from? And is it really all over? We're about to dive into all that and more. It's Kristen, and today we are going to be breaking down and kind of talking through the crazy storylines that went on during Light as a Feather Season 2B. There's a lot to get through, a lot of questions that we needed answers to that we definitely got. This half of the season focuses on what happens when the group reunites and plays the game one last time, thinking that this is what will end the curse. Unfortunately, it turns out that they've fallen into a trap and things are about to get a lot crazier. Consider subscribing if you like my videos and drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts on the second half of Season 2 of Light as a Feather. There will be spoilers in this video, so you have been warned. One of the big questions that this season brought up is who is after Violet. We see her being targeted very specifically and in ways that at first you're like, okay, is she just being paranoid or is someone really out to get her? And is it someone that's part of this group? And if you'll remember, in the last video I did on this season, we kind of talked about our theories of who could be after her, and one of the people I brought up was Perry. Another thought is, could it be Perry or Sammy? While they weren't actually in the basement with them at that time, that could just make them a little bit more suspicious because we didn't have eyes on them. Especially because Perry comes into the picture seemingly out of nowhere when she crashes Isaac's party and meets Alex. The more that I think about it, Perry's taking off a semester of school to find herself. There's definitely some kind of mystery around her brother. Maybe he was involved in the game and she's kind of investigating or trying to get revenge. Well, this half of the season, whoo, we got all the answers, so we're gonna break it down. It turns out that Perry's brother Justin was at Daybridge when Violet was there, and Violet is the person who got him involved in the game Light as a Feather, which ultimately led to his disappearance. Since then, Perry has been very suspicious of Violet and knew that she was responsible for whatever was going on with her brother. She's the one who killed Violet's parents, she's the one who's been targeting Violet and who essentially led to all of these crazy things happening, from Henry and Lena being taken to Sammy being killed. All of this was Perry. And things started to really amp up when we learned whose body was in that box that Violet had. It turned out it was Justin, and so Perry really felt like her actions were even more justified. So that means nothing was a coincidence. When Alex and Perry met, Perry had planned all of that. When Henry got sick from his medication, that was Perry too. But then that begs the question, who is this other woman that we were kind of introduced to last season as Margaret, who, we thought really started this whole Light as a Feather game? It turns out she's not who we thought she was. Her name is really Sylvia, and she was Perry's nanny, and so she kind of knew all of this stuff that was going on. I found that honestly to be a bit confusing because I don't know why they just assumed that this person was Margaret. If anything, Sylvia was more of the accomplice to Perry and kind of doing her bidding. And speaking of Margaret, that kind of opens up the story of what actually happened with Light as a Feather. I feel like we don't get a truly satisfying introduction to where did this game come from, other than, it was played many years ago by this group of sisters, two of whom were twins, which is obviously fate because McKenna and Jennie are twins, and it turns out what they need to stop the game is to put Margaret to rest. So she had died and her remains were somewhere else, and they needed to bury her in order to stop all of this going on. But with a twist, it turns out the whole putting Margaret to rest is equivalent to putting Jennie to rest, because as we know last season, Jennie has kind of held on to McKenna and has tried to keep her alive, and in doing that, has been afraid to move on, and is really the one that has this chrysalis attached to her. It's all Jennie that is kind of making this game and this curse continue on. So at the end of the season, we get to see McKenna and Jennie kind of connect while McKenna is knocked out, and she's telling her, you need to move on, you need to leave so that we can end this game. And miraculously, that ends up working. They are out of the game, they are free, everything seems great, they can go on with their lives, but of course, things are never really as they seem. I could see them going one of two ways with the kind of finale that they set up, which we will get into. The first is that this was kind of just giving you an open-ended storyline so that you kind of can imagine for yourself where they could go next, and maybe this is the end, or maybe they will try to go and do a season 3. If they do though, I just feel like I don't know if it will be as successful, because to me, the first half of season 2 where they introduced a whole new group of kids playing this game, it was not as good as the first season where we had already built upon this group of friends and, you know, knew what was going on. It felt like they were just kind of trying to continue the story by introducing these new people that we didn't get time to learn about, didn't get time to know and meet them and really connect with them. And so that's why for me season 2A was not as successful as season 1 or even this second half of season 2. What they open up is this idea that Perry somehow managed to survive after it looks like Alex and McKenna managed to defeat her. That makes me wonder, like, how was she able to survive that? Is there some type of twist that we're gonna learn about where maybe she actually has played the game and that's not the way she's supposed to die and that's why she doesn't? And then they also give us this kind of like teasy ending where we get to see Violet go off to a boarding school and it looks like Jennie has taken over her body, and they kind of hint that maybe the game will continue at this new boarding school. I feel like Jennie is very selfish and very much does not want to move on, and so her way of combating that is to jump to Violet's body and kind of take over and possess her so that she can try to live on through this game. Like maybe that's the only way Jennie is able to survive. And then I think the other big question we kind of still have going on right now is whatever happened to Isaac. He was attacked by wasps in front of the church. We saw that that pastor had his belongings, so clearly something happened to him. Did he actually end up dying? We don't see a body. We don't really find that out. I'm not sure if they're trying to leave that as an open-ended mystery or if maybe there is some kind of twist if they were to go on to a season 3 where it turns out, you know, maybe he's just in a weakened state being trapped somewhere. I feel like if that was the case, maybe they would have teased that at the end of this season as well. Maybe they just did not want to continue on with that story, or maybe they felt like it wasn't necessary because it's kind of obvious what happened to him. Overall, I really enjoyed this half of season 2 of Light as a Feather. I think that we really got to develop the story a lot further. There were some things that to me did not really 100% make sense. For instance, why did they think that Sylvia was Margaret, or where exactly did this game really come from? I wish that there was a little bit more of a richer history there. Will this show get a season 3? I'm not sure. I think if they do, they need to do something completely different because I don't really want to see them play Light as a Feather again with a new group of people and just continue that. It's not as fun unless they're gonna like really dive into the new characters and give you a reason to care about them. I don't think that this is like a perfect show, but I do think that it's a lot of fun and really quick to watch, especially around like October, Halloween time. I think this half of the season they really managed to give us some crazy storylines that, you know, really make you jump, that, you know, really get you a lot more invested. Don't forget, if you like this video, make sure to check out more of my reviews right over here, and I will catch you in my next video. See ya!